What's up, you guys? I have some never seen before Dollar Tree DIYs using these Dollar Tree skeletons, and you're not gonna want to miss it. Today I have 4 Dollar Tree DIYs I guarantee you have not seen before. At least I haven't seen them, and I'm super excited to share them today. So I gotta let you guys know I love Halloween. It's probably my favorite holiday. I love going to Six Flags, doing the Fright Fest stuff. The movies that can scare me out of my skin are my favorite movies. I do like more of like the paranormal movies, but today we're gonna put a focus on slasher movies. Oh my gosh, you guys are in for a treat. So for my first DIY slasher killer made out of Dollar Tree skeleton, we're gonna go ahead and do Ghostface from the movie Scream. So for this DIY, you're gonna need exactly 2 Dollar Tree items, and one's gonna be the Dollar Tree skeleton and the other one's gonna be the little creepy curtain that they sell. Now you're gonna think it takes a lot of skill to draw the faces, paint them in and all that, but it really doesn't. Just look at the face structures and look at the skeleton face and just kind of go off of that. And of course I'm gonna put an image right here so you guys can see what picture I went off of. Now I might have a little bit of advantage on these DIYs simply because I used to draw a lot. My specialty was drawing faces and people like real life. So, but I promise you, it's not gonna be that hard. Just follow along with the picture and you guys will get it. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is just pop the head right off of the skeleton. And then I'm also gonna be gluing the joints together. That way, if you wanna stand it up, it's not all wobbly. You have the option of doing that. You could also use like some dowels to stand it up. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and paint the whole skull white, and please don't use acrylic paints. Those suck. I use home paint, and I typically use like bare paint in like flat white, and it's from Home Depot. Just any house paint will work because it's thick and it also dries super quickly. And here I'm just gonna start with my Sharpie. If you guys don't feel confident enough to start with the marker, just start out with the pencil and you guys can kind of outline the face. So for reference, this is the image that I use, and it's super easy to just kind of follow along. So, I mean, the skull obviously has a face, you have the eye sockets, you have the brow bones and all that, and just kind of follow along. And then I'm also gonna make it dark on the side of the skull because once I put his little cloak or whatever it's called, you don't wanna see any of his skull because you don't see that in the real Ghostface. And then of course, just add a little bit more glue onto the head so it doesn't wobble around. And again, this cloak is not exactly like the one that he's wearing, but I think for being a Dollar Tree, it's the perfect size. You know, you can kind of fold it up and it looks thick. I am gonna cut a piece off of that cloth and just kind of crumple it up, or make it into a little ball, and hot glue it at the top of the head because it's gonna give the hat some volume. Now basically just put it over the head, kind of like a hoodie, and then, you know, adjust it to your liking. I hot glued it a little bit so it doesn't like open up or anything like that. You could also paint the skeleton black because after I did this, I noticed that Ghostface actually has like long black sleeves and black gloves, but I'm just gonna leave it like that because it is a skeleton and we wanna make sure that that's kind of seen also. So you guys can see there, I just opened up a little hole on there and put the arm right through. And then I did cut it off at the elbow, and I'm gonna adjust it like this because he's gonna have a weapon, kind of like he does in the movie. And for the weapon, I basically just used a plastic butter knife that I spray painted gray, and then I added some white floral tape around the handle, and just using some of this red paint, just kind of drip it down to make it look like, you know, BLOOD. Just so you guys know, I do have a part 2 of this Dollar Tree skeleton slasher killer DIY. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you're notified when I upload that video and all the videos that I have coming up. Alright, so for this next DIY, again, a Dollar Tree skeleton, and then I'm also using some fabric as well as Barbie doll hair, and I actually had to steal this from my daughter because this was kind of like an on a whim DIY that turned into a whole thing. Anyway, obviously Michael Myers wears like a jumpsuit that's like denim, and I don't have any denim stuff, so when I started making this DIY, I was literally just going off of what I had on hand before going to like Dollar Tree. So I am using this thicker fabric. I almost gave up on this DIY because I had painted the face and it looked nothing like Michael Myers. I almost scrapped it, but then I did Ghostface, and then I decided to make a whole series. So I came back to Michael Myers, and this is how he came out. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to go ahead and lay the skeleton on top of the fabric, and what I'm going to do is just trace around the body. Now, the first time I traced it, I didn't make it big enough, so I had to do this 2 times over. Just make sure you trace over it to where it's like wide, and it goes it goes perfectly over the body to where you can hot glue it together for the 2 pieces. I hope you guys know what I mean. But yeah, like the first time around, it was too small, so I had to redo it. So just cut out the fabric and then flip it over and trace that part. That way you have your front and your back. And I actually did make like the popped collar and then also some lapels, which I didn't show you guys how to do, but super easy if you can just kind of know how lapels and collars go. So anyways, right here I'm just gonna go ahead and hot glue the pieces together. So here's that Barbie doll that I stole from my daughter, and this Barbie doll is from Dollar Tree. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the hair and just start gluing. I didn't really have a plan for how I was gonna do it, but I just kind of cut that piece and put it in a ponytail, and then I just started gluing it on top of the head. As you guys can see, his face is already painted white, but this was after I kind of fixed my mistake and started all over. But yeah, his hair is kind of crazy anyway, so you just go in there and, you know, do whatever, do it until you like, and then cut and trim. And because he was looking a little flat, I decided to cut up a little bit of pool noodle and just stuff his legs and arms just so he looks a little bit more beefy and scary and not, you know, like he got run over by a truck. I feel like these are easier to paint just because it's, you know, black and white. But again, you guys can follow along on the picture of the Michael Myers mask, and, you know, just use the face. Like, again, it's a skull, so you know where the eye sockets are, the cheeks, and just emphasize on those. You know, you can start out with a Sharpie. I'm also using a pencil, and then also just some chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree just to kind of, you know, finish the look. And then of course he also has a weapon, so I just used a silver plastic butter knife and then added some black Dollar Tree wire around the handle, and he's good to go. If you guys are enjoying this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up. The next DIY, we're gonna go ahead and make Jason Voorhees. You know, Friday the 13th, an oldie but goodie, one of the classics. Actually, I'm lying. I don't like those slasher movies at all. Like, I think they're super cheesy, but we're gonna go ahead and go with it. Again, we're gonna use a Dollar Tree skeleton and what else? One of these Dollar Tree scarecrows, and that is it. So back in the day, Jason used to wear overalls and like a shirt. So we're gonna go old school Jason, and I'm just gonna go ahead and gently peel off these little overalls from the scarecrow. This fabric is very thin, so just be careful not to rip it. And I don't know, I just thought it was a perfect little outfit and it's easy peasy. So just take it off the scarecrow and then put it back onto the skeleton. That's pretty much it. And then again with the joints, glue them how you want, glue the head on there. I usually just take the head right off and stick a paintbrush right onto the bottom so I have more control over it. And on this one, I'm not gonna paint the whole entire thing. I'm just gonna do the front of the face because obviously Jason wears a mask. And also, like, if you see the actual movie, his head is kind of, you know, he's like rotten and stuff, so we're just gonna leave the skull how it is. And then yeah, you guys can use the picture for reference of the Jason Voorhees hockey mask and just follow along. Try to use a pencil if you don't feel comfortable using a pen. The pens I'm using are like fine tip and they're actually Cricut pens. So that plus I go over it with Sharpie or the black chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree. So Jason's mask throughout the years, it gets dirtier and gross. So I didn't want to leave it like super white just because it's not realistic for the real Jason Voorhees. So what I did, hey Kayamari. So what I did was just mix a little bit of gray and cream paint and just kind of tapped it onto the mask to make it look kind of dirty. So depending on what era we're talking about, he usually has a plethora of different weapons that he uses, but today we're going to go ahead and stick with the chains that he has around his body that make him go down to Erie Lake or whatever the lake is called. What's the lake called? If you guys remember the name of the lake of where he goes, please let me know in the comments because I totally forgot. So anyway, I just took some chains that I kind of had laying around. You can use chains from the Dollar Tree baskets or just whatever you can find. And then I just took some metallic silver paint and also a little bit of white paint and just dabbed it on there to make it look a little more chainy. So I was a little stumped on this one on what I was gonna use, but I strolled around Dollar Tree and I found the perfect stuff. So again, we're gonna use a Dollar Tree skeleton and one of these Dollar Tree dollies that have like the bigger head. And we're gonna use her hair and also her eyeballs. Now I feel bad for these poor dollies, but she had the perfect hair. And all I did was cut right around the hairline all the way around, and then I also cut the eyeballs out, and you're gonna want to cut all around the pupil or like the actual eye area. So cut out all of the white, and you can cut them even smaller if you wanted. I feel like I should have trimmed them just a little bit more. Again, with the white paint, just paint the whole skull white, and using my Cricut pens, Sharpies, and acrylic paints, and very, very thin paintbrushes as well. And once again, you guys, use that photo for reference and just follow along the features of the skull, and then also like pay attention to what Pennywise's face looks like. I actually really enjoyed making this one because the teeth were going to be a little bit of a challenge for me, but I just used that red pen to make the mouth, and then I created the teeth. Just, you know, drew the teeth with the red marker, or the red pen, I'm sorry, but just started filling in there like the shadows of the mouth with the black. And then I actually used a yellowish orange pen to fill in the teeth, because if you notice, his teeth are kind of yellow and gross, and I thought that was actually perfect. So once his face is painted all the way, I'm gonna go ahead and glue those eyeballs right into the skull sockets, and it just gives this clown some life. And he's super creepy and I love it. And Pennywise has like some shadows like around his eyes and just, you know, like cracks in his paint. So I'm just gonna kind of lightly go over it. I didn't want to do too much just because I didn't want to overpower it. And now I'm gonna take this poor doll's scalp and just basically glue it on top of the skeleton. And you guys can see if you move the hair over, she has a bald spot and we don't want that to show. So just floof it up as much as you can. I kind of did this whole thing. I spread it out this way and then did a ponytail at the top, and then I just kind of trimmed to make it look more like his hair. But yeah, just some glob of hot glue and right on the scalp. Now I thought, what am I going to use for his clown costume, which is not like the one that you find in the movie. It's not like what he's wearing. It's like a very poofy white outfit. At least that's the one that I remember. But I did find this little ladybug skirt for Halloween, and we're going to use the entire thing. So you guys can see here, I just put that skeleton right in there and spread his arms out, and I just kind of felt my way around his arm and cut that piece right there. And I like that it's going to be nice and like poofy, so it looks like a clown outfit. So once I cut it, or once I get it around, I'm going to cut right around or right at his wrist, and I'm going to put a rubber band around it to hold it together. You don't have to hot glue anything other than like the collar on the front and the back. And then I'm basically going to do the same thing with the legs and then the other arm. So once that's all glued down, then I just used like some hair, like rubber bands for like hair, and I put it at the ankle, the knee, and the waist. And I also used 2 Dollar Tree scrunchies to make the collar, and I found the perfect ones. They were like nice and light and just, you know, it gave it that clowny look, I guess, if that makes sense. And then plop that head right on and your Pennywise is all done.
So we all know Pennywise has that red balloon, and I found it the perfect little foam ball to do it. That way it's not heavy. And then I just did a zip tie and tied it right around his shoulder, and it sticks right up. So I'm going to stick that nose right on there, and it's going to be his balloon.
Alright, so we come to the end of today's video. If you did enjoy it, you guys know what to do. Leave me a thumbs up and then share it. Please share it. I hope you enjoyed it, but I also had the most fun I've had in a while making some DIYs, and I really want this video to be seen, so make sure you guys engage. Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, you guys know where to leave them down below in the comment section. Any other info is in the description, and don't forget, part 2 is coming up, so make sure you guys subscribe before you go so you don't miss it. All right, bye guys.